presents Creating Your Seat at the Table with your host, Ashley Little, as she welcomes her guest to the table.
Welcome to Creating Your Seat at the Table. I am your host, Ashley Little. A little bit about myself: corporate professional by day, entrepreneur by night, four-time best-selling author, CEO and founder of Ashley Little Enterprises, LLC, owner and creator of Creative Broadcasting, and co-founder and owner of Talk Radio and TV Network, LLP. Tonight I have an amazing special VIP guest by the name of Dr. Deena C. Brown. A little bit about her. Dr. Deena Brown is a dynamic, inspirational speaker, entrepreneur, radio and TV personality, and catalyst for change. Her purpose in life is to inspire, empower, and transform lives. Dr. Brown adds value to others, speaking on her powerful message of authentic leadership and transformation. She is an international best-selling author and has been featured on ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox as a highly sought keynote speaker and business and leadership growth expert. As the founder and CEO of DC Brown International, Inc., a global leadership development company, she utilizes her 20-plus years as an educator and school administrator to help individuals and teams develop the ability to communicate, connect, and collaborate at a world-class level. Dr. Brown has worked throughout the world to create and develop leaders and to seed and nurture high-performance teams. Dr. Brown's fourth book, Walking Through Glass, The Ultimate Guide to Be Sane, Sexy, and Significant in a Male-Dominated World, deconstructs the myths surrounding women leaders by providing key strategies and actionable ideas on how to walk through the glass: fear, doubt, anxiety, depression, sane and sexy, all while cultivating a legacy of significance. Noting that her work with women was more than a singular event, but a strategic movement, Dr. Brown founded the leadership movement. The Lead Her Shift movement helps high-performing women communicate with influence, lead with confidence, connect with authenticity while collaborating strategically. She knows firsthand that when you embrace a growth mindset, it results in optimal career growth. Dr. Brown possesses a trademark, direct yet relatable style. She shares in an engaging, high-energy way practical steps to communicate, connect, and collaborate with influence. Dr. Brown's expertise helps individuals and organizations build a clear path to significance that bridges their philosophy, vision, mission, and goals to their authentic brand story. Welcome to the table, the amazing Dr. Deena C. Brown.
Oh, my gosh. I was listening going, who is that diva? Thank you for having me. The table actually is such an honor. Like I said, I'm so excited, and I feel privileged to be at the table with you having this conversation. So thank you.
You are welcome. I am honored and humbled to have you at the table, Dr. Brown, and I can't wait for you to share your wisdom and knowledge with my listeners. So we know that you have an amazing bio. So please tell us more about your entrepreneur journey.
Wow. When I listen to my bio and I think about my journey, it kind of intersects at the point of being Xavier's mom, because really my true essence of who I am really came to fruition when I became Xavier's mom, and that's my 17-year-old son. And that's also what gave me, I guess, the catalyst, or was the catalyst for me to embark on entrepreneurship. At a time when I pivoted outside of education, K-12 education in 2016, it really was a pivot because I was looking around, what am I going to do next? My purpose and passion really didn't line up with my profession anymore. And my work environment, although I was, quote unquote, the boss, it was really not a place for me to actually thrive and grow and to be nurtured to my next level. And so as I was pivoting around, situation just got to the point where I couldn't pivot anymore. I had to shift. And the shift that I made was into entrepreneurship and to then launch my own company doing what I love to do, which is to, again, inspire, empower, and transform lives by helping people really, truly understand that what they have inside of them, literally what they already have inside of them, just really needs to be nurtured and fertilized. And then at the right time, at the right moment, all the seeds that have been planted divinely in their spirit will burst forth and will grow, but they just have to provide that space. And it's really that ignition that you have to have, because I know that it was for me. And when I had to make a shift in my life, it was looking at my son, which is why I say that he was that catalyst for me. When I saw that my depression and my unrest and my anxiety and all of the things that I was processing through was impacting him in a negative manner, I realized I had to do something else. And that literally started the entrepreneurship journey for me, because I never thought about being an entrepreneur. I just became an entrepreneur, if that makes any sense.
Amazing, amazing. I just want to commend you for taking that pivot, right? You know, it's at the pivot that we get ready for that shift, right? So sometimes, you know, most of the time, the pivots are necessary for us to go through.
Right. Absolutely.
So you're very passionate about. So you're very passionate about helping people empower and transform their lives. So tell us more about your passion, Dr. Brown.
Oh my gosh, yes. So when I think about that, and I start working with women and I start coaching, and as a member of the John Maxwell team is when I began to really hone the coaching aspect. Again, in 20-plus years in education, and especially school administration, I've been a coach, professional developer, community activist. You do all those jobs. But one thing that my staff used to say when they came to my office is they say, you're like our life coach or something, because I always said, okay, so what about you? I know we got all this other stuff going on, so what about you? And it was really the point that if I could make sure that they were good, then they were going to be great for kids. And so when I started to work in that capacity, and that's what I really loved, and I thought, wow, I can now do this every day, like just this, not check lesson plans, not check facilities, not get 3 o'clock of school shutting down, that I could really pour into people every single day. That was very exciting for me. And it all started with my own journey. People would always say, well, how did you do blank? How are you managing XYZ? How did you process through this? How are you dealing with that? And so when I started to break down my journey and all the transformations that I had to do, again, I come up with the acronym to what I did was to shift. Right? And so for shift, it's an acronym for me, with the S being self-check. You have to do a self-check. And when I'm working with any individual, whether it's a company, a corporation, a team, or an executive, about what they need to do in their life or what they need to do in their career, that we always have to take a realistic self-check. Because most of the time when we think about the problems we have, you cannot look outwards. You've got to look inwards and start the work from there. And that's where it starts happening. So I say the S in the shift factor is to do a self-check. How are you doing? What's going on with you? What's really the problem? And when you start realizing that you're irritable or everything ticks you off and you're easily aggravated and you're so unhappy, if you took the time and got quiet and did a self-check, you realize that you are disappointed in you. You have not been meeting your expectations of yourself. And when you start taking that look and come to those terms and identify it by calling a thing, then it leads you into the H of shift, which is to humble yourself. You need to humble yourself and realize, oh, I don't have all the answers. I might be smart, I might have degrees, I might have experience, but I don't have all the answers. And for me, because I'm a woman of faith, I have to say, Lord, I can't do this by myself. And in the earthly manner, it might be me calling on my coach or going to my mentors or leaning in. But you have to humble yourself to realize that you don't have it all, and it's okay that you don't. We are made to be interdependent on each other, not solely independent of each other. Okay? That's a tweetable fact right there, y'all. Is that we were made to be made to be interdependent. But so often, especially as women, so although I love to work with everybody, my passion is for women because I am a woman, number one. Number two is that when I think about what goes on in our head and that inner bully, that inner critic, and we're beating ourselves up, and when life doesn't go the way we have planned it to be, we're so busy trying to take care of everybody else that we're not realizing that we're not taking care of ourselves, but by the time we do, we're disappointed in ourselves. So You got to humble yourself. Realize, I'm not Superwoman, and nor do I want to be. I don't even want to be her cousin unless she got a boat and a yacht that I can ride in. That's not who I'm trying to be. I need to be myself and be unapologetic. So we humble ourselves. And once we get humble, we've done our self-check, now it's time to get intentional. We literally have to then go, okay, what is my next? What is the one next thing I need to do that's going to get me closer to the next thing that I need to do? So for me, this is the process that I use. And when I start sharing it with clients, they go, okay, yeah, that's what I need. And I realized that this was like universe, this was law. You can apply it to any person, any situation. So getting intentional, then staying focused once you set those intentions, and then taking action. All that is part of what I call the shift factor. And that's all part of that Lead Her Shift movement. And so my passion began with working with women, and I mean some of the most powerful women, COOs, CFOs, CEOs. They are what I call badasses by day. You can see them everywhere wondering, I want to be them. Well, guess what? They're calling me in the evening, and we're having a session, and they're broken inside with doubt, frustration, fear, questioning themselves. Am I still a woman because I gotta play with the big boys, so I gotta be a man? No, you don't. And am I a good wife? I'm not a good mother because I didn't make every single game, and I didn't bring the cookies to the PTA banquet. I bought them from the store. So, those are all the things that I dealt with as a school principal, because when you're dealing with the school with 700, 1,200 in a high school and in elementary, I'm everybody's mama, including the teachers, And so my son, had to deal with that. And those are things that I went through when I was trying to climb and get to those positions that I thought was going to bring me happiness and joy, because it had power and a higher paycheck attached to it. But it was totally not aligned to my purpose and what I'm called to do. It was a part of my journey, not the totality of my existence. And that was one of those things that I had to understand. But again, it required me to shift. I couldn't pivot anymore. And in shifting, it's like I said, self-checking, being humble, getting intentional, staying focused, and then beginning to take action so that I can truly live the life that I dream and desire. But I could only do that unless I committed to it. And that's what I've begun to do. And now I get to show other women, this is how you do it. Because they go, what did you do? This is how I do it. This is my strategies. I was talking to a client earlier today, and we were working on an anthology project that I have going on. And one thing I had to share with her is she's like, well, I don't understand. And, it's easy to say it as a coach, but what about doing it? I said, honey, I live it. And so one thing in particular that we were talking about when we speak about transforming lives and helping people, I said, now, I schedule my tantrums. Yes, I said it. I schedule my tantrums because I'm human, right?
Yeah.
And so I give myself 10 minutes, and I set the timer on my phone, and I say, you get 10 minutes to be irrational. You get 10 minutes to be angry, yell at God, cry, scream, whatever you want to do. You get 10 minutes to totally make absolutely zero sense and complain about anything and everything in your life and how miserable you are and how unfair the world is. I get it all out. You get 10 minutes to do that. But then I follow that with 15 minutes of gratitude. I actually put it I actually schedule it. She's like, I said, let me show you my planner. Because if I'm having those moments, something's not right. And I do that self-check I told you about, the shift. And I realize when something's not right, I can't ignore it. Far too long we've been told, you're not supposed to feel anything. You just need to ignore it. You just need to man up. You just need to get over it. No, you don't. You need to process through it. And by processing through it, it means acknowledging and becoming self-aware. And with that becomes the clarity. So when you start scheduling those tantrums, and then by the time you do it a few times, you'll be laughing at yourself. You'll be like, okay, yeah, you might want to. And so you process through it. You don't ignore that's how you feel. So that's part of my passion, is that really showing particularly women that we are perfectly imperfect, and that's okay. And it doesn't always have to be all right, you know, and that's all part of our journey. We just have to embrace it.
I love that, and that's so important because being healthy inside and out is so, so, so important. And doing those self-checks is essential for our mental health, for our self-care, all of that. So, Dr. Brown, you are very passionate about leadership, you know. That's part of your platform as well.
Yes.
And so what are the most important traits? What are the most important traits of successful leaders today?
One of the most, we just came back from our John Maxwell International Certification Conference in Orlando, and it was powerful. And those that know about John Maxwell know that he is one of the number one leadership. He is the number one leadership guru in the world, and we talk a lot about leadership. And what's important and what we seem to unfortunately lack in many of our leaders, that's on a platform. Now, to me, I believe in everyday leaders. That's a whole nother story. But when we look at our platform of leaders that are in the media, and one of the things that they need to have is ability to truly have vision. And not only a vision for the world, but even for themselves and how they're going to show up. And there's three things that you need to have in any kind of leader, whether they're personal, homegrown, or they're on a national, international scale. You need to have clarity about who you are as a leader. What is your personality dynamic? What are you here for? What is your purpose? What do you want to make sure that people understand? Because your audio and your video has to match. And so that clarity is really key. And it has to be established. The messaging, the communication factor is huge. Well, I won't even talk about the tweetables at this point, but that communication factor, what and how are you showing up for the people that you're charged to lead? So that clarity about who you are as a leader and who you're called to serve and how you're called to serve is essential for great leaders. The second thing is really confidence in your leadership. Confidence in your leadership enough that you can empower the people around you to bridge your gaps. So I'm very comfortable and I know my strengths. I don't want to practice and work on my weaknesses. I need to focus on what I'm good at and what I'm strong in, and then guess what? I'm confident enough about who I am that I can bring somebody in who augments my leadership and fills in those gaps, and so I can build a team around me that actually, again, make sure that that vision comes to fruition. And the third thing is consistency. Do you mean what you say, and do you say what you mean, or are you showing up? No matter if the door's closed, if the door's open, and who's watching. Because integrity is not what you do in the front of people. It's what you do when you know that nobody's watching. And so that sense of consistency and authenticity is really huge. And with that, when you're clear and you're confident and you're consistent, then guess what? Here's where the fundamental, here's the nutshell, is that people can trust you. So a good, great leader inspires trust. Because it doesn't mean I'm going to agree with all the decisions that you make. It means that you've established yourself with a clear vision and a confidence in how you lead and empowering people, and that you know clearly who you are, what your strengths are, and how to augment your weaknesses. And you're so consistent that I can trust you. So if you made this decision, I know that it must be the best decision possible. So I think the fundamental element of any great leader that you can think beyond and throughout time, where people tend to flock and follow, is that they have inspired trust.
Yes, I love it. Showing up is the key thing, right? Showing up and being consistent. That is the key to being a successful leader. And like you said, servant. You have to be a servant leader, right? That's part of being a good leader.
Oh, my gosh.
So,
yes.
Yes. I thank you for saying that. Because I know a lot of people are listening. That's just part of being a successful leader. Like, it's a difference there. You know, when you're reaching back and helping other people get to the next level, that's a real duty. That's a true successful leader. So
you should always be looking. You should always be training your successor. I believe in succession planning, and that I'm not so comfortable in this job that I don't ever want to leave it. Why? Because there's something greater for me. So let me make sure that if I'm not here, and this is what I said when I was running schools, I said, I know that I've done what I was called to do, when I can be gone and this place runs the same and they didn't even miss me? They go, oh, don't you want to miss you? No. I want to come back and they didn't even know I was gone. That was what it was. So let's put the things in place to do that. I did that when I was a classroom teacher. My students, any one of them, could run my classroom. So when a substitute came in, they were just kind of there to kind of oversee them because they knew that I expect you to run this like I was here, execute with no issues, and then you have an adult in the room to kind of monitor you if necessary. And that's what it is. But so today, many leaders and many people in leadership are so worried about who's coming next, that they're going to steal a job from them, they're going to take my place, they're going to move me out. Really? Truly?
Yes.
Well, if that's the case, then maybe you're really not confident about your leadership anyway, because the goal should be that that person can do what you do and then more. And when you're in mentorship, you want the person you're mentoring to exceed you.
Absolutely.
That's my philosophy.
And I'm so glad you went down that road because I want to touch on that. So what is what is some of the most lacking traits among leaders today? Because I think some of them, sometimes leaders can be insecure. It depends on the leader, right? So I want you to see what your thoughts were.
Oh, I would agree with you. I would agree with you 100%. Usually insecurity, cowardice. And cowardice can be tied to be honest with you, to their insecurities as well. They're not really great communicators. And they allow their ego to get in the way of their excellence. And so, again, but if you think about why their ego plays such a large role, why their fear plays such a large role, why their anxiety plays such a large role, it's because they're insecure. So your word was a nutshell. I mean, as a whole, and everything that really speaks to their lack of leadership ability goes that, because how can I trust a person that's insecure?
And sometimes, Dr. Brown, that comes from how they were, from the head of, their leader, right? So they rolled down. So it's normally a experience they had or some type of interaction they've had in the past, and they begin to be that person when they get to that level, if they get to that level, because sometimes it can hold you back. So
yes, they could. It depends on your mindset. Because what's for me is for me, and you know what? Just like you said, creating a seat at the table, I'm not waiting for you to invite me to the table. I'll build my own.
That's right.
And that comes from that sense of boldness, and whether it's inside of your organization or out. That's why we have so many entrepreneurs instead of intrapreneurs. See, what companies could be doing is fostering intrapreneurship, where people are building inside. And there's actually certain incubators. And some of your large companies, like Google and Zappos, they're spawning these intrapreneurship ecosystems, where they're giving people that opportunity to be entrepreneurs, but for the benefit of the organization. Duh, how brilliant is that? But from the other perspective of that, sometimes that fear. I have someone that I've worked with, and she loves to speak about how hard it was for her to get to the position she's achieved. And that in theory and in her warped perspective, she is lighting the way for other women. But that's a lie. That's her imagination. Because the need to control. So here's another fallacy and falseness of these leaders. Their desire to control everything doesn't give them control over anything.
Right.
And so you have people that are afraid to move and act because you have to, validate every single step. And so one of the strategies that my mentor, John Maxwell, will share with us, he talks about, is called the 10-80-10 rule. And he said, so when you are introducing, and this is in leadership or life, okay, when you're introducing a new concept or understanding and you're handing that over to someone, say, in training and in development, because you want to develop and build leaders. That's what real leaders do. They build other leaders.
That's right.
He shared with us that first 10, I'll use it because if it's like that first 10% of the project, he is there as a mentor. Let's help. Be the mentor. That first 10%. Then the 80% is turned over to them. Make it do what it do. I set you off. Good. 80%, it's on you. Then for the last 10%, he comes back for the check. It enters a mentorship relationship again before the final project is submitted. So would you not feel empowered as an individual going, wow, 80%, they kind of helped me. They didn't leave me out on my own. They just go do it. They gave me some parameters, set me up for success, let me go off and do what I needed to do, and then they came back in just to check to make sure I didn't have questions or this was exactly what we needed to be. But yet I find many leaders I work with, and because I do work in the HR space quite a bit and working with teams, and what the staff is saying is that, I don't really get to make any decisions. But yet everything rolls back to me, and I don't get to add insight on how to do anything. I have to wait to be told. And then when it doesn't go right, it's my fault. And so there seems to be a toxic culture, and again, you have this overarching climate of despair, and what I call it, battered culture syndromes, where they want to act, they want to do, but when they do, they get beat down about it, and if they don't, they get beat down about it, and so it's just this horrible cycle. Instead of saying, okay, well, it didn't work right, and let's brainstorm this as a team, what could we do differently? But if you really look at innovation stems from people trying new things and it not going right. The light bulb, gum. I mean, all kinds of things. Mercury.
Yes.
It was these were quote unquote accidents. So I think leaders need to get comfortable. They actually have to get comfortable with allowing those that are assigned to them to lead from their own framework.
Yes. They have to embrace delegation. Learn how to delegate.
Yes. And that's what really, is empowering. I remember I did a Disrupt HR talk, and I said in my 5-minute Disrupt HR talk, I said, we need more sex in the workplace. And, oh, my God, they were like, what is, And so I broke it down because, I love acronyms. It's an acronym.
Yeah.
And I said the X stems from the law of solid ground, meaning building trusting relationships that help people kind of grow. The E was empowering those people around you that work with you to really take chances and to fail forward faster, to take the risk, shoot their shot, get a clear understanding, and then nurture and mentor them to success. And success may look different than the way that you had already designed. And the X was exponential growth, is that you really are there to grow leaders, not followers. So that's why I kept saying, again, I wanted to be a little shocking, in that space, that we need that in the space. We need people to say, I trust you to try it your way. You're empowered to do a new thing because you're bringing some new ideas to the table, especially as we have, 5 generations in the workspace now? I mean, it's huge. And then how am I growing you as a leader? How am I developing you? And I can't be afraid that you're going to take my job. I want you to take my job because you know what? Right. Innovation is going to be something new for me. That's how I think. That's what mindset I have. I have a growth mindset. So you can have this space because I'm going to a new space. You can have this space because I'm going to a new space.
And that's how all leaders should approach that. And which leads me into wanting to know, what is one key leadership lesson you have learned along the way?
Ooh.
I'm sure you learned many.
I know, but when I think about this one, I think that this is probably one that many leaders, and especially female leaders, can identify with, is to make the shift from pleasing people to challenging people to become a better leader and a mentor. And that they're not going to always like you, but they should respect you and value your insight if you're clear, confident, and consistent. And that you're so busy trying to please and make everybody happy that what you're really doing is diffusing your leadership. And with that, you're not building that foundation for your whole entire ecosystem to really trust you, because then people will accuse you of favoritism, all kinds of stuff. And so you have to get over the fact that pleasing people is not your job as a leader. It's to challenge them to become leaders and mentors, and to produce, perform, and make sure that their purpose as far as how they are connected to the organization is fulfilled. That's what your job is as a leader, not to please them.
I love that. So thank you for sharing that with our listeners. I'm sure that has helped a lot of people that are either continuing to grow in whether it's corporate or entrepreneurship. All of these key factors and wisdoms can help us in every area. So talk to us about your amazing company, Dr. Brown International, Inc.
Well, again, I've always loved learning. I tell people I'm a nerd. I'm just super fabulous. And one thing is that I found that when I transitioned out of K-12 education and leadership, that what I loved was the learning platforms, and that my goal was to create and is to create a completely digital platform for leadership and learning. And that's still, like I said, in the works. And so what I get to do now is I get to go in to different companies, Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies, and I get to talk to them and their teams on how to really build cultures that are built to last, and a culture that builds leaders, and how to develop those leaders within them, and how to really begin to make sure that their systems are sustainable to do that. And that just became a derivative, like I said, of the company. But it all started with me saying, you know what I do know, and when I was transitioning into entrepreneurship, what I know is leadership. I know that. I've trained leaders. I've worked with leaders. I know the mistakes that leaders make. I know the mistakes that I have made. I know the lessons that I've learned. And then what I did was I got myself into an amazing program like the John Maxwell team, where I have coaches and mentors who help me up-level my leadership. And so I knew that we have a leadership deficit. We truly, honestly have a leadership deficit, not only just in this nation, but in the world.
Yes.
And so by really cultivating and identifying what is leadership, like you asked me, what does that mean? And does it mean something different for different people? And should it mean something different for different people? And so in creating those systems to understand how leadership works, to be honest with you, I started because of my babies, which are the millennials right now. When I first went into education, the kids that are, well, they're not kids anymore, but our current millennials, those were my kids. Those were my first students. And they would reach back out because I'm still connected to many of them. And I'm a Glammy several times over. I get to connect, and they would call me, and they said, the things you taught us in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, in high school, I'll never forget. You taught me how to use my voice. You taught me how to have a sense of integrity. You taught me how to communicate, how to connect with people. And they're saying, I'm having trouble. I'm in corporate America now. And my boss is afraid that I'm going to take their job. So they won't teach me anything. They won't let me know how to, to be a better leader. They're not really giving me coaching and guidance. And, the mama bear in me was very upset about that. Because I've always said that, here's how to do it, here's how you communicate with people, here's how you become an advocate, and they're saying I'm hitting my head up against the wall. So I said, okay, so let's start looking at platforms that not only speaks their language, but speaks to their needs and their differences. So how to network appropriately with your boss. And those are some of the media spots that I've gotten a chance to do as a guest expert. How do you begin to network to increase your net worth? How do you do that appropriately? How do you get a seat at the table? And, okay, forget about even just being heard. How do you even just kind of even get invited to get into the room without just having to be the one to bring the coffee?
Right. That's right.
You
So
know.
when you get invited, you got to stay in the room, right? You can get
Absolutely.
invited, but you got to be able to stay
Yes. So it was all of that is really where it started out, and I'm working to launch that. But where I then also began to make a shift, because as I said and thought, what is it that I'm really, truly, honestly passionate about, was really my work with women, which is why in 2017 I founded the Lead Her Shift movement. To shift the way we think about ourselves as women and how we develop and respond as leaders. Because what I began to see that the men in the organization, they didn't have as much of a challenging time assimilating into that culture of leadership. And they were getting invited a lot more than the women were, the young women particularly, to do that. As well as the women in leadership, some of them were so caught up in, again, like, there's only one seat at the table and I'm going to keep it for myself.
Right.
I was like, okay, we need to begin to shift the way we're thinking about that. And so that's really where my company started to focus. And now as we niche down, because this has been, I'm telling you, entrepreneurship has been an evolution process. I entered entrepreneurship in 2016. And I have done some long-term consulting work with like CPA firms and government agencies and working with their leadership teams and all of those types of things. But when I began to work with women, and I started doing mastermind groups with women, and it would end, and they would say, okay, this can't be over. This is just not, event. This is really a movement. Yes. And in 2017, I said, you know what, you're right. It is a movement. And thus the Lead Her Shift movement was formed. And as I looked at what I really am called to do and where my super sweet spot is really speaking life, light, and transformation into other women. And so I have really been focusing on that aspect of my company and our organization and our offerings, is to work and target, women as a whole as that's my avatar. Okay? Women, especially women in transition, women in the age group usually between 35 and 50 is where that seems to be, ready for me. I get some that are, of course, older than that, but when I'm speaking about, we're in transition times, whether we're becoming new mothers, whether we're becoming empty nesters, whether we're leaving a job, getting promoted in a job, those transition times requires new types of transformation and different up levels of our leadership. And so that's where my company has begun to focus and doing masterminds and speaking and talking and working on programming to, again, address that need, because that's the one women saying, this is where I'm stuck. And one of our first program offerings is coming up in October. It's the Inner Game Mastermind, and it's really working on our mindset and mastering our mindset and all that self-talk, those limiting beliefs, those doubts, all of that crazy that tends to attack us as we attack ourselves. Because, I have a saying, when you say, oh, they don't want me to do it, and my response is, they is you. So you is they, because who are they? You that made them up. It's you. It's your fear, it's your doubt coming up with the they.
So I want to commend you for creating that space, and closing those gaps, because that's so important that we, close gaps and, find solutions, and definitely in our leadership, definitely, like you said, with our women in, whether it's corporate America or entrepreneurship. Thank you for creating that and helping other women get there. I mean, sharing your story, your experiences to be able to help someone else get to the next level.
Yeah, that's what I'm called to do. That is exactly what I'm called to do.
I love it. And I ask my guests all this same question, because Dr. Brown, I know you are busy and continuing to create your own tables. So how did you create your seat at the table?
She believed she could, so she did.
I love it.
I mean, I first had to believe that I was worthy. So that's why I said that mindset is so key. those beliefs. I had to believe that I was worthy and that I could and that I had something to offer that was of value. And that even though people were asking me and coming to me, initially it didn't sink in. It wasn't until I believed it that my spot became cemented. And not only did I create a seat at the table, that I made some room for other women to sit next to me, and be there with me, because I am so comfortable and confident and clear about who I am that I can love just abundantly and give.
And when we're making room for others, that's called impact, right? Because we should be chasing the impact.
That's right.
And I love the fact that you said when you got to the table, you made room for others, right? And that's how we should all be thinking when we get to the table, to be able to create more seats for others, not to just be selfish and keep them for ourselves. So I love that. I love that.
I tell those people that are connected to me, I said, if I know something, that means you know something.
That's right.
If I have it, that means you have it. If I have access to it, that means you have access to it, which is why my circle is very intentional and is very strategic.
Yes. So it's so important. That circle is so important, right? Your circle, your environment, all of that is a full circle, and it plays a huge part. So I love that. So what did failure teach you on your journey?
Woo! Failure has taught me how to come back bigger, badder, stronger. And my mythological spirit animal is the phoenix. Because each time something happens and we feel like we are burnt up and there's nothing left to give, to me, then we come out the fire stronger, more powerful, with more knowledge to create and utilize everything. Because really what failure is an opportunity for growth. It's the way you look at it. That's why your mindset is so important. It's an opportunity for growth. And so when something didn't work right, and trust me, I've had a lot of those moments. I had some this week. It just made me go back and say, okay, maybe that's not in alignment. Maybe there's something greater. Maybe I wasn't thinking bigger. See, when failure happens often to people, then they want to do less. So with me, if failure happens, I should be doing more. Okay, it was too small, God. Got it. I need to go reach bigger. I was thinking too small. That's why. Have you ever thought that maybe you didn't fail at that little thing just because God has something bigger for you? And He's just waiting for you to learn that lesson so that you can really begin to implement the types of systems and structures to receive on a grander scale. So that's how I think. And so when failure happens, but if I'm hurt by it, like I told you earlier, I schedule my tantrum. Okay, go on, girl, get your 10 minutes in. Go on, cry. Go ahead and have your feelings hurt. But after your 10 minutes are up, you need to get back to it. And I literally like I'm talking to you. People might think I'm in there talking with a Sybil or somebody. That's how I'm talking to myself.
Awesome. I love it because we have to understand that failure is part of the process. It's necessary for us to go through it.
It is. I'm telling you, it is. And here's how I know that it is because I didn't truly really grow as a leader, as a mom, as a woman. I'm not talking about being a little girl, as a woman, until I encountered failure. I didn't. I couldn't, because you know what? I just thought, this is so easy. This is so easy. People usually have to work for stuff. And so each time there was a pivotal point in my life on this journey, I failed epically. And when I had it, me and God had it out. Well, I kind of had it out with him. He was just chilling. And I said to him, I don't get it, because I even said, is Ashton Kutcher in the bushes? Am I unbunked? What is going on? This is not my life. This doesn't happen to people like me. This is not this is not me. And he said, I cannot take you where you need to go if you have no understanding of what the people that you are called to serve have been through.
That's right. Absolutely.
I said, oh, okay. I still don't like it. Can we be over the lesson yet? Because I got it now. but I learned to look at failure differently. And once I said I got over myself and I didn't allow my ego to get in the way of my excellence, then I didn't see failure as a negative. I saw it as an opportunity, and I still see it as an opportunity.
I love that because it is an opportunity. It is an opportunity. So, Dr. Brown, what can we expect from you the rest of 2019? We're at the end of quarter 3, at the end of this month. We're going into quarter 4. So what else can we expect from you the rest of 2019? You've been doing some amazing things, by the way.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. Get ready, be ready. Well, October 3rd, I am doing a virtual mastermind on leadership that's available. And it's already up on Eventbrite. It's a 4-week virtual mastermind where we go through the 11 essential changes to shift your leadership higher. So I do have that. I'm currently working with my 10 authors for my first anthology project. And the project, okay, I don't know if I can I haven't released the name publicly, but I don't know, Ashley. I might let you know. Only the writers know the name. And so, but I will go ahead and share. So you listeners, y'all know, y'all special, because nobody outside of y'all and people working on it know it. It's called Testimony, The Journey of Me on the Road to I Am. And and the authors, we talk about the journey, everything you've been asking about today. So, yeah, I was here, and I'm kind of here, but it's really the stuff in the middle that many of us have a hard time getting through. And those are the things that we don't hear as part of our stories, and that's what helps people have transformation in their lives. So that is in the works, and so we will that'll be published by December, by the end of quarter 4. To do that, right? I have some upcoming speaking events, one in Phoenix in October, and South Carolina in November, and in October also, I guess I'm going to D.C. to speak at the ERE conference on talent and acquisition at the enterprise level. So, again, get to talk about blind spots and how they hire and how they recruit. I am all things about people development and management, so I'm excited about doing more of that, expanding my platform, and unleashing Inner Game Mastermind onto the world. So I'm really, like I said, excited about really focusing on what my gifts are and not spreading myself out to everybody. But in quarter 4, it's about launching my programs because I've been working so much on my client work, and I have a couple clients that have been doing product launches that I haven't really been pushing for my content. And so quarter 4 is all about really just getting it out there and sharing my gifts.
Well, so congratulations on all the amazing things that you have coming up. I can't wait to see how you're going to finish 2019. I know you're going to finish it strong. I know you are. So congratulations in advance. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You are welcome. And I would like to thank you, Dr. Brown, for taking the time out of your very, very busy schedule to come to the table to share your amazing wisdom and knowledge. This has been a very powerful interview, and I can't wait to invite you back.
Yes, anytime. I can't wait to have you on Walking Through Glass, the podcast, which is my podcast. And I didn't get to share it, I know, in wrapping it up. But Walking Through Glass really just really brings and hone everything that I've been sharing about women, because it's not breaking through the glass ceiling that really is hard for us. It's what happens when we're walking through the glass, when we're in those positions, and we have to deal with all of the ish that goes on inside of us and on the outside. And so that's what my podcast, we talk about, have conscious conversations of what are we doing, how are we doing, how are we processing through it, and what support systems do we need. So I would love to have you on the show as well. So I look forward to that as well.
Absolutely, and I look forward to being on the show. Tell the listeners how they can follow and support your show.
Absolutely. You can find and just Google Walking Through Glass, the podcast. It's on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Music Play. And Monday through Friday, you get a daily dose of vitamin Dr. D, a little medicine for your mindset. And on Sundays, our episodes drop, which are our conscious conversations, which are those longer conversations where I have other women guests on, and we really have conscious conversations about all the stuff we don't usually talk about that we need to be talking about so that we can really heal and grow to the next grader for ourselves.
So please, and I want to commend you for creating that space, because that's what you said. We don't want to talk about the middle part. We really don't, but we got to talk about it. I mean, we have to. And so for our listeners, please follow and support her amazing platform and her show, because Dr. Brown is definitely someone to know and someone to connect with. So Dr. Brown, please tell our listeners one last time how they can follow you on all social media platforms.
Absolutely. On Instagram and Twitter, you can follow me at Dr. Deena Speaks, DrDeena So Instagram, Twitter, and also on YouTube, all things at Dr. Deena Speaks. And you can get those insights that you need. And you can definitely, I encourage you to not only listen to Walking Through Glass, the podcast, but give me your feedback. And if there's something that you'd like to hear us talk about, then definitely go ahead and inbox. But I really, really appreciate the feedback, because this is not just about me. It's about serving everybody and making sure that whatever I'm bringing to the table has value for them and helping them grow through this season of their life.
I love it. So please follow and support Dr. Brown. Dr. Brown, thank you again for coming to the table, and I look forward to connecting and collaborating with you more.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And this is such a great show. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So talk to you soon.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I would like to give a special thanks to Tammy Collins Marquis and John Schamberger. I would also like to give a special thanks to author Kimberly McLemore and my intern Sarah from Tennessee State University. And you all may follow me on Facebook at Ashley Little and on Instagram at _Ashley A. Little. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Creating Your Seat at the Table, where Ashley speaks with corporate professionals, celebrities, entrepreneurs, authors, and speakers who are transitioning or have transitioned to entrepreneurship.